Look here, I have my own journal. It still feels so surreal. I have loved journaling all my life, and some benefits of journaling is it reduces stress and it helps keep your memory sharp. So this is a setup that I have used for the past 5 years, and it's just something that is important to you, something that you're grateful for, something that you're proud of, something that you dream of, and something that you pray for. Simple but effective. The link is in the show notes. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, and welcome to Life with Francie podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversation like mental health, self-love, self-care, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a community where we support one another in business and personal life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get the show started. On today's episode, I have the pleasure to talk to Dallin, who is a writer as well as a podcaster. He is the host of Y.I.E.L.D Today with Dallin Candland. He loves learning, trying new things, and making a difference in lives of others. He especially loves doing this through encouraging practices of self-care and creating content to help out others and yourself. This amazing conversation was possible thanks to Podmatch, a great community with tools and resources to make podcast hosts and podcast guests' life easier. You can find access to this community and my guest information in the show notes. Now, let's welcome Dallin to the show. Tell us, what is life with you?
Well, like 20 minutes ago, I was running down the street in like 85-degree heat, blazing by cars. I didn't get any sleep last night because I stayed up all night looking up at Steam game sales, which was not what I planned to do. But we just went back into it, and I'm pretty happy about my life right now, pretty on fire.
That's awesome. I love that. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so I think a really good place to start, at least with your listeners, is a year ago, I graduated from college, and it was probably one of the biggest sinking feelings that I've had in my life, because I had a job lined up that fell through. I had other things I was looking forward to that all just kind of disappeared. And so it seemed like all this work was for nothing. And I'd been doing podcasting. I'd done a gaming YouTube channel when I was younger. I'd done all these different things, and I had to rebuild myself. There was no other option. And I had kind of lost the desire to do that. But now, a year later, I've gone on this journey, went to Alaska, did a bunch of different things. God took me on a journey, as he does, and it's been amazing. And today I did something today that I couldn't have imagined doing a year ago on this day. So I'm very humbled.
Oh wow, in Alaska, that's so awesome. I like this. But yeah, so when did the mission started? Let's start with I don't know. You tell me, like in the writing, because you mentioned poetry, or like the podcast, you tell me.
Well, I think I've just sort of not super fit in very well, unless people were talking about a certain thing, and then I would be in the conversation. And I realized when I was diagnosed with ADHD at 20 that there was these things that I didn't have control over. And sometimes I get really excited and people are like, Dallin, why are you so excited? It's like, I don't know. I'm excited. And one thing that I was thinking about it on my run today, Francie, because I didn't make the basketball team at sophomore year, and I had gone to all these workouts and stuff. And that probably like set my life up for ridiculous amounts of success, because it got me into doing track and being the basketball manager, and track stabilized my dopamine levels. So when I got home, I could go super, super hard on my homework and nobody knew what was going on. And all my grades went, all of a sudden, they just started going up in the clouds. And it's like I was untouchable all of a sudden. It's still like one of the, it was a ton of work put in, but I was able to just be in the flow state of life. And I felt the difference when I haven't had that. And yet I had this one memory. Okay, this is like 14 years old, right? There's this church dance. I haven't shared this anywhere. So we 14 years old, not even on my own podcast, I don't think. But 14 years old, there's this church dance. And I was always a little bit squeamish about like if girls liked me or not, like dateable, etc. Because I didn't go on any dates in my church, and family and stuff. I know, and I was like, it's okay. I'm not getting any dates anyway. Nobody cares about me. Like in that way. But I remember in this dance, they did a girl's choice, and I usually get chosen for the girl's choice, but on this particular time, I stood in a room with about 200 girls and 200 guys, and I was completely danceless, partnerless, connectionless, loveless. And I will never forget how I felt in that moment. And I never wanted anybody to ever feel that way again. And so after I started doing this rebuilding at like 15, 16, because I've had to do this again at 25, 26. But I danced with like every single girl that was by herself. And it didn't matter if I wasn't really attracted to them. I'd go and be like, hey, you look lonely. And that was a beautiful thing. So I learned that if you can esteem somebody else, you'll be able to feel stronger about yourself too. There's something deep in us, I feel like we're really wired to love, and love leads to courage, faith, breaking expectations and all these beautiful things. And for me, reaching out to these girls helped unleash this in a way that translated into other periods of my life.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that. And how do you started that mission to like help out others and then combine it with the podcast?
Yeah, so I'm crazy about reaching out and helping out other people. So in college, I had this crazy idea to give away, my parents gave me some gum for the semester, it's like 200, 300 pieces. I had the crazy idea, what if I just gave this away like at college? And so that's how I got my first couple jobs in college. That's how I got set up on some dates, was I just gave out gum like crazy, like, hi, my name is Dallin, do you want some gum? And some people think you're weird for that, but it was a great, it taught me a lot about sales, and it also taught me about some people just will not, like, even if you're giving them gum, like, what's in this, blah, blah, blah. Some people are always skeptical of kindness, but yeah, after that, I wanted to reach out to more people on a bigger level. And so I started the podcast. I was digging up potatoes in the Idaho heat, and I've been wanting to do one, but then one day this is a little dramatized, but I just threw my shovel on the ground. I was like, that's it. Starting my podcast tomorrow. And I did, August 24th, 2019, we got it out, we figured it out, made it happen. And so, now anybody would be able to listen to me in my college campus. And a lot of those are things that I was experiencing and feeling, and interviews I was having, conversations I would have if I was able to talk with that person. So that's kind of where it all started, was wanting to share those conversations and talk to more people.
And Y.I.E.L.D is a unique acronym, so tell us more.
Yeah, I've bounced around because marketing lingo, which I studied marketing in college, says that people mispronounce it, people misspell it. It's a terrible name. But, it stands for yes, I envision love demonstrated. And I feel like if you can envision your life with love, you will have way better outcomes. You'll have way better inputs. Everything will be better. And so, there's times in college where things changed when I was like, hey, how does God want me to see this person? Am I envisioning love demonstrated in this moment? And demonstrate is a powerful word, because it's like, you actually, at least for me, I imagine myself like reaching out to that person or talking to them or something, or saying something that might be, difficult for me to say, but maybe what they need to hear. And I'm a very visual person, like visualizing all day long, and, it's just, I have these vivid dreams, all these different things. And so, yeah, I want to make the most of it.
Nice. And you've been doing it for like a few years now, or?
Yeah, Y.I.E.L.D Today has been around for almost 4 years. And I started a faith podcast as well, this time on my daily faith journey. And that is almost a year old. But I generally just have a lot of thoughts, and I like getting them out there, and still trying to rein it in a little bit. Sometimes I go a little bit crazy, like, okay, but people still listen, and people are like, bro, I love your podcast. And the crazy thing too is, Francie, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, it's like, it isn't so much about what you're saying. Sometimes it's how you're saying it. And it's like, wow, like she has it together. Like she's here, and despite everything, Francie is here doing this, and that says a lot. And maybe people just need to see that. It isn't so much about what you say, it's the strength that speaks without you saying anything.
Oh, I love that. um, what are some ways, what is it? Yeah, what are some ways to deliver immediate value when you meet people?
Yeah, so this goes back to the gum thing. I have a guidebook I was working on because I was on another podcast and somebody was curious about this, because now I will go and talk to any person on this earth. I've talked to people in airports. I've had some pretty amazing experiences of meeting people I still keep in touch with, randomly, that I just met. So it's this acronym for the word GUM, and it's to come with the intention to give, always give. Like, I have no intention of like forcing anything or anything like that. It's just all to give, and usually giving is listening, like giving a listening ear. Then there's you, which is understanding, which is where I'll ask clarifying questions to better understand the person. And this is basically podcasting on a micro level. It's like a 2-minute podcast interview, more or less. That's how I look at it. And then M is moment. And that's where I try to bring it a little step further and make it a moment for the person that hopefully they'll never forget, they'll remember that somebody reached out to them. And if they told me something like they liked, then maybe I'll pull up a highlight video for that thing, or I'll pull up a book quote or something like that, just to kind of drive it a little bit a little deeper, that I was listening the whole time and that I was trying to listen and empathize with them, even if I never talk to them again. I think of it as sort of like a crossroads, is we might run into each other again. There's no guarantee, but if we treat each other with kindness, then it will be a lot better if we run into each other again.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that a little bit earlier. I really don't, because a lot of people are not comfortable, but the empath, I could see it in you, and I love that, because it is a different kind of people to try to understand, and just it's free to just be kind and be just make a positive impression on a person just from the first time that you meet them, even if you don't have to, if you don't see them again. So I love that. And then compassion too as well. So how does compassion completely change a conversation?
Yeah, compassion does completely change conversations. I think a lot of times it makes it so you don't have to say anything, because sometimes we want somebody to hear a certain way, or you want them to understand our point of view, but really we just need to hear them. We just need to see them better. I think it's happened to me multiple times where somebody will say something and all of a sudden I see them differently. Like, there's that quote that when we change the way we look at things, as things we're looking at, they literally change, and so it completely changes conversations in a lot of different ways. I think I shared this in a church activity pretty recently, that I believe a lot of compassion is trusting in how God sees somebody more than how you see somebody, like trusting that there is something deeper, there's something real there, and something that is worth digging. We're all diamonds in the rough, right? We're all diamonds in the rough.
I love that. And with all the feelings and emotions, of course, you write poetry. Can you share more about it?
My poetry, yeah. So it was around 2020. I remember, and this is where I've learned that ADHD comes in super handy, is the creative aspect. It's 2020, and I was it was maybe 11:55, and we had a curfew and stuff, and I was like, you know what? It's just, I'm going. Nobody can keep me inside. I'm sorry. I'm going to lose my mind. We had 7.5-foot ceilings. I'm 6'5". And so it's I was in this box. It was please get me out of here. And it was freezing cold. It was winter. And I was my car is here. And that's probably what they care more about, in the parking lot. I mean, obviously they care more about me as a person, but I just walked around and I laid down in the snow and I just did some thinking. And I wrote 2 of my favorite poems that I've ever written in my life on that walk. And one was The Hope I Can't See. And the other one, oh my goodness, I'm surprised I remember The Hope I Can't See, because I'm literally running on 0 sleep. I stayed up all night, and then, because I didn't want to miss this. So it's after you stay up, you're okay, well, if I pass out and wake up and I missed it, I will not be happy. So I went on this run and yeah, but I've been writing poetry for the last couple of years, and it's helped me tons as I've navigated all of this journey, and even just today after that letdown of sorts or whatever, I wrote a poem to myself, so it's a powerful grounding thing. It's a powerful self-love thing, and it taps into the visualization, taps into a lot of those different buckets at the same time.
Nice, I love it. And yeah, you mentioned that you still wanted to share the poem that you wrote today.
Yeah, I'll go for it. Okay, it's called I Can't Leave Him Behind. I can't leave him behind. This is his dark moment. He is feeling so blind. His steps are becoming less confident. I can't leave him behind. He is calling out for my name, his deliverance, the new aim, realizing his life is much more than a game. I can't leave him behind. His voice is so quiet. His eyes are so tired. His cool tower of peace has just been set, affired. I can't leave him behind. He thinks he is done, stuck in the hole, hard to look at the sun, but I will attend to him. His battle too will be won. I won't leave him behind. He thought his time was up. He thought he drained my compassion's cup. He thought he was stuck to his pain fast like syrup. I won't leave him behind. I will show him what redemption feels like. I will go to the store and buy him a new bike. I think he deserves better than his old trike. I won't leave him behind. And now, hand in hand, I walk with him away. And now, hope with hope, I know his peace will longer stay. And now, eye to eye, we both remember we're a pretty swell guy.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. There's so much emotion in it.
Thank you so much.
Sweet.
Appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much for sharing it with us. I wish I had that gift. I do not have it. I have another friend. I had her on the podcast, Haiti de la Cruz, and she did her own book of poems through a hard season. And I just love it because the emotions, the feelings, all of it, and you can relate, even if it's which is different circumstances. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yes, this is what I've learned, Francie, is that in these crazy, vulnerable moments, there might be something crazy, beautiful that needs just a little bit of time to get out. And right now in my life, I'm not blessed to have a significant other. I don't have a wife, a companion, a friend nearby, or I don't have a girlfriend or anything. It seems like all the friends that are girls in my life, we're just kind of on different paths right now. Like there's times where they really want to talk to me, and I think I'm just in a building phase right now, and so they're doing their own thing. But I can listen to myself. I can listen to the inner child, and that's exactly what I did at 4 or 5 in the morning this morning. I was like, hey, I hear you, and I hear you.
Yeah, and one of your questions you had about journaling, and I totally understand that because that's how I do it. That's how I get it, everything out. Mine is more of like brain dump than anything else. I just think it's too much. It's an overdrive all the time. So I got myself, and then all the time. So it's nice to like have pen and paper. I'm old school, so pen and paper to write all my feelings down. I love writing letters and things like that. So I love that your escape or anything is a poetry. That's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful because the crazy thing with poetry and letters too is like, I want Dallin to never forget this moment ever. It's like, this is what you did when things were feeling kind of rough, or, right now I'm living in this apartment by myself. It's like, oh yeah, Dallin hasn't made. No. My parents paid for this apartment because it somehow magically came into place. I was planning to get a job before I moved out. That did not happen. Instead, for whatever reason, I'm up the river without a paddle, and I'm trying to figure out how to get a paddle so I can live on my own. And I'm learning a lot very quickly. And yeah, it's
and it takes time, man. It takes time. Shoot, when I had my first apartment, I think I had a chair and a table and some blankets to make a bed. So we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your affirming voice, and I just could sense that, like, from the, before I even jumped on the interview, it's like, okay, this will be good. It's like I could come on this interview Like, however, and I feel like I'd still get treated like like it was a good person or just that I was worth listening to. So I just really admire that.
Oh no, of course you matter and you're important, and your message definitely is important because you don't hear a lot of male perspective when it comes to being an empath, having compassion. I'm just saying, I have a great families. I don't want to say like my family, but it's a tough conversation about feelings and emotions. So I love having the male perspective on that side.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so curious, Francie. So what has made your life better in the last week? Like what have been some things that like made your life better?
I'm on staycation. This is recorded in July, and the episode will be in September. But yeah, this is in July, and right now it's on staycation. So I have been able to build a new persona, to just be more relaxed. I'm trying to detox from the money from the post office so I can work more on stuff on myself. So it is nice to take a step back, and it's okay eating Roman noodles or hamburger helper, doing my thing so I can invest in my virtual assistant. So she makes sure that she gets my journals and notebooks out there and back to doing interviews. So I get that energy. I took a break in June. And now that I'm back to doing interviews, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot stop taking interviews because I'm an extrovert. So I get the energy from meeting new people and getting to know them. Just what's life about? What's life with you?
Well, let's go, Francie. That is beautiful. I love that. Just yeah, setting yourself up with some future wins. I think that's one of the best things you can do for yourself, compassion wise, is to like do that. Like if you have a podcast, to plan it out a little bit ahead, or if you're having struggles in like a family relationship, maybe like planning out a dinner for a couple of weeks or something. I don't know. But just when you can have something taken care of to bless your future self and you have something to look forward to, that's a sacred thing. Like that is a one of those diamond in the rough. That's polishing the diamond. Like that is literally like it's like we're making that diamond shine right now. That is what we're doing.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Is there anything else that you would like my listeners to know about you?
Oh boy. Yeah, I think it's really important for me to share that I am a strong believer in Christ. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I know I wouldn't be anywhere without like God's help, like lifting me up in crazy moments. And that is something I lean on like crazy, that no matter how distant I feel from family, for whatever reason, like my goals are in a different, not like they're higher or whatever, but they're in a different universe, kind of like I experience the world differently. I have different ambitions and stuff, but God always gets me. I believe that we're all children of God and that he gets me on such a ridiculously deep level. And I've felt that when I have, leaned deeper on those gifts, or I've leaned deeper into a poem, then it's like he's talking to me and it's just me and him. That's all it is. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's like nothing that this world could ever produce could ever come close to the way that he helps me to feel in the life that he's helping me to build. And it's a beautiful thing for me to feel that I've grown and I've changed. And yeah, so it's possible. And I wasn't sure if I was going to say this. I had this thought before we jumped on the interview. It's like, if I was dead right now and I was looking at this life, I was observing it, I would do anything to get back into it. I would do anything to jump into my life right now, because I've been all over the place. I've been in the refiner's fire over the last year. This was not something I could skip. I wanted to skip this last year because I knew it'd be extremely difficult to bounce back. And I'm still bouncing back. There's this story that I read a year ago, and I heard it when I was a child from this show called The Book of Virtues, and it's called The Magic Thread. It's about this kid who is at school, and he's talking at school, and he just doesn't really do super well in school. And he's talking with this girl, and she likes him, he likes her. And he's like, I want to like skip to like when I go on dates with her and when I get married. And so he goes and he's thinking about this, and there's this witch who appears to him. And she's like, if you want anything in your life, all you have to do is pull this magic thread. And so he's like, okay. So he gives it a pull, and all of a sudden school's out. And he's like, wow, what happened? And then every time life gets difficult again, he pulls the thread again. And so all of a sudden he's unraveling his life. He goes from, wow, we're dating, to, oh, this is difficult. Let me pull the string again. Now we're married. And then it's like difficult, pull the string again. Now we're having kids. And there's a point where it's like the kids are crying. He's like, why won't he stop crying? And it's just a difficult time. And he pulls the thread again. Now all his kids are going to college. And then he gets to a point where his wife dies because he's pulled the thread. He hasn't lived really any of his life. And he feels so much remorse about not feeling all of that pain and not learning from all of that joy, feeling the joy for real. And that old lady comes to him and he feels so bad. And she's like, if you had one more wish, what would it be? He's like, it'd be to relive all of the joy and the pain. It would be to go back, be to feel all those things I didn't want to feel in my life, so I could feel all those things, so I could be the man I want to be. And then all of a sudden, it's a fictional story, obviously. She snaps her fingers, he's back in school, and he lives his life completely differently. And I think to some degree, Francie, I've been given that gift of experiencing what my life could be, of like, I pulled this and I don't want to pull this again, ever again. I just want to live my life every single day. And that's what I've been doing a lot more of the time for the last year. And it's completely changed everything. And so there have been times where I've wanted to pull that magic thread and skip the pain, skip the growth, skip some of those boring days where all you do is run or do your podcast or reach out in kindness. Like, that's great, but what's in it for me, But now I'm like, there's nothing I would do I would do anything to get back into it if it was over, I would do anything to get back into it. And I'm really fighting for my life, and I fought for it. Last year I didn't really want to do it as much. I was frustrated and just in a lot of denial, but now I'm in acceptance. Now I'm in love and with myself. And now it's like, it's all good. Like, I know I will stick around. I know I will be here. I know that there's no danger anymore. I've discovered so many gems about myself that I will stay here every single second that I'm meant to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you're here and that we got to meet each other. And I totally could relate, as my 20s were really, really hard. And it was my darkest days. And there was a lot of times that I was like, this is not worth it. And through it all, what kept me in here, it was my mom's love, because I'm an only child. And there was no way that I could do that to my mom. So I fought it and I fought it and I fought it. Now in my 30s, I have a different life that I create the chaos. Before, my life was a chaos. Now it's so peaceful that I'm like, oh, let me stir some stuff up. So, but yeah, it's just about going and understanding it's a feeling. And I know at the moment it feels so real. And your thoughts are bigger than what anybody says or the environment too. So I'm glad that you're pushing through and that you're in acceptance now and in a better place. And I hope it stays that way because inviting joy to your life. I just started loving myself 2 years ago. So I'm brand new to this too. But it does make a difference, in how you treat others and how you treat yourself if you have love for yourself first.
Yeah, I've just been telling myself over and over again, I've learned a lot about self-talk. I'm reading this book called The Self-Talk Workout. It's like, I don't care how hippy dippy it sounds. I don't care at all, because I have definitely seen the self-talk tear me down, and I've seen it lift people up, where my speech is like, wow, that was amazing. And then in that same day, it seems like I'm beating myself up with it. But now I'm like creating all these tapes for myself, all these things I want myself to hear, all these, like, using the poetry gift to make these like little hype tapes for myself and listening to those. And I'm just going as deep as possible with that. And I've been telling myself basically every single day for the last couple months that the best is yet to come, and I'm really trying to prove it. And things are happening I didn't expect. And so yeah, I'm excited. It's good. But yeah, I appreciate your kindness, your words of wisdom. And yeah, I just know that this is only a moment, and someday, I'll look back on these moments with fondness. And I've learned, Francie, that I always will have more compassion looking backwards than forwards. So I try to have more compassion on myself in this moment, because I know I'll look back and I'll be like, Dallin, because there was those days like a year ago where I stayed up all night thinking about stuff, and I was just stressed out and had all these thoughts and couldn't sleep. And then I got up and it was 6 a.m. and I went on a run. And then today, I was like 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. before this, and I went on that run, and I pushed myself. And it was like, you're not going to forget this. This is how you responded, and it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I appreciate that. And your legacy that you're paving right now with your show and all things you're doing.
Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on the show, being so vulnerable and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Francie.
Oh yeah, where can my listeners find you?
Well, there's the Y.I.E.L.D Today podcast. Episodes are every Monday and Thursday. Interview people, sometimes conversations generally like this, and just about, self-care, life, growth. I'm still figuring it out and going into that love equation, trying to understand what it takes to love ourselves and learning from that journey. And yeah, that poem will probably be in a book someday. It's not, but you can find it on Medium. But because I posted it this morning, I wrote it this morning, posted it this morning. So, but yeah.
That's awesome. I'll make sure that I have your links on the show notes.
Thank you so much, Francie. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. So hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. You can find my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, my YouTube channel. You know the drill. Like and subscribe. Help this girl out. Share it with your friends. Anyways, hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.